Bryce Duskett joining you from our Lincoln, Nebraska studios. We are joined today by Grant Otten of the Nebraska Public Power District. Grant, I'm sure it's been a busy couple days for you. We're all becoming very familiar with the term rolling blackouts. I want to start with just a general update of what's going on across the state of Nebraska, leading to some disruptions of electrical services across the state. Tell me what you know right now and what the public needs to know.
Yeah, so I'm sure a lot of people are a little bit more familiar with the term. So basically it's a planned interruption of electric service. And the cause of it is it's just this enormously high electric use. I think I was looking up just some examples for our entire region from North Dakota down to about the panhandle of Texas. We used about 43 gigawatts of electricity, and that's not going to mean a lot to most people, but basically that was a record for winter generation for the amount of electricity we've had to generate during a winter month. So we surpassed that today even further. We're up around 44 gigawatts. So basically it just means we're using a lot of electricity across the whole region. And it's hard to keep up with that. We don't have enough generation to match the amount of electricity that we're needing to supply people. And so they're having to do these interruptions of service. It's supposed to be about a half hour. The idea is that you have a half hour power outage. You're without power for about a half hour. It might be a little bit longer, hopefully not. And then once you have that outage, the idea is that that's the only one you have to experience. We're hoping it doesn't go on so long that we have to restart the list of, people that have had an outage and they're re-experiencing an outage again. So the idea is hopefully that a customer only experiences one power outage. It lasts for about a half hour. Then your power comes back on and it goes to the next one. The issue is, like I said, we have such high electric use right now because it is just so darn cold outside. I know there's, I have my light on here. I've been working in the dark most of the day trying to conserve as much energy as possible. But there's also some issues with natural gas supply. They're having some issues because of this cold weather. They haven't been able to deliver as much natural gas to some of the plants around the region as possible. So, that's limited some of the generation those natural gas plants can, produce. So it's a combination of just really unfortunate things where this is just a historic cold across the entire region. This is something that's not just affecting Nebraska. It's affecting everybody. It's affecting our neighbors and power regions next to us. Texas has had it even worse than us, where I've seen it looks like some pretty long outages starting yesterday. So, this is unfortunate. You never want to have a power outage. The idea is that these planned outages, these interruptions of service will prevent a larger unplanned outage. So if we don't do this, it could damage the electric system. So this is really all to protect the electric system and make sure it continues to operate normally. If we don't do that, you could see something worse. So we're just trying to, do our best to protect the electric system and, get as much power to as many people as possible. I saw the wind picking up a little bit today. That was a big issue yesterday is, not only did we not have natural gas, as much natural gas around the region as we needed, we also didn't have very much wind. That looks like it's picking up a little bit today. So hopefully that continues to pick up. Hopefully we get out of this, sometime tonight or whenever. It'd be nice if we get off this call and it's over, but it's just hard to tell. This thing is so fluid. You think about it, electricity moves at the speed of light. So, when you talk about energy demand and how quickly people need that and how quickly they're having to direct that electricity, it's a very fast-paced, fast-moving thing. So hopefully this doesn't have to last too long. But we're just asking people to be patient. If this continues, it's hopefully just a half hour, and once you have an outage, hopefully you don't have any outages again. If you had an outage, bundle up, sit tight and try to hang in there. It's not the most exciting thing in the world, but just encouraging people to be patient if they can.
Grant, that's a really good interview. I really appreciate, that's a really good overview of the situation you guys are dealing with right now, and I appreciate you sharing that. One of the questions we've seen most common on the stories we've been sharing on social media and people reaching out to us is, why can't we get a little bit of a heads up? Can you talk about some of the challenges of not being able to notify those customers that their power is going to be out for that half hour or 60 minutes?
Yeah, that's been the most difficult part of this. If we had a better idea of how quickly this was affecting people, or, if we had more time to notify people, we certainly would. The biggest issue right now is that it's happening so quickly. So we find, our operators will find out they need to, get rid of, X amount of electricity off the system, or they need to stop serving that amount of electricity to protect the system. And they basically have about 15 minutes to figure out, which electricity is going to get taken off, or which service is going to get interrupted. And then, the half hour when they're trying to switch it over to the next one, then they're trying to deliberate, okay, what do we have? What are our options? What are the issues we might face if we take this person or not this person, this customer, this service off? So it's really tough. There's a lot of things that really go into it, and it's happening so quickly. It's hard to, stay up to date and notify people. If we're getting calls, and as we're finding out, we're trying to share that information too. But it happens so quickly that it's just hard to get the word out in time. So like I said, it could be, energy demand could back off here while we're doing this interview, or within the half hour, and we could be out of this thing. Or, it could stay the same, and we could go through this afternoon where we're still having to, do these interruptions of service. It's hard to tell. We are, just kind of trying to follow what the energy demand is, and what the situation brings with it. So, just to answer your question, it's happening so quickly that it's hard to get notification out in time. We're finding out, and then by the time maybe we're notifying someone, their power is coming back on, and then someone else's power is going out. So it's really tough. Right now, if your power goes out, it's probably because of the rolling blackouts or the interruptions of service. So sit tight. It's probably going to be about a half hour. Try to be patient. I know it's tough. I sympathize. It's not fun. It's, no one wants to have lost power. Losing your power is not fun. So just asking people to sit tight if they can bundle up and just hang in there. It's probably going to be about a half hour, maybe a little bit more in some cases, but just sit tight and hopefully get back on as soon as possible.
Another question we've been seeing, and I'm curious if you can shed a light on kind of I don't want to call it the pecking order, but how this works of who you get the notification from and where that goes. What's the process of getting that information to the operators and ultimately having to shut off some of that service during the rolling blackout?
Yeah, I don't know if I have the entire in-depth answer for you. The operators have, and it's not like they're turning off power to John Smith's house in Columbus, Nebraska. It's not like they're looking at your house and they're flipping a switch and now your house is off. They have these different pieces of equipment around. I don't want to get too technical because even some of it doesn't make sense to me if you had an engineer explain it. So they have these different areas, these different points around the state, and each point serves X amount of load or X amount of electricity to a customer. They try to avoid turning off, loads where it's like a hospital, or certain things that are identified as they just don't want to shut them off because you got people, hospital, obviously you got people you got to care for, and a lot of them have generators, but if you can avoid shutting them off, that's a good thing. So there's I don't have the list of those in front of me. So there's customers like that are served that they've identified in some of those points where they're able to turn electricity off, and they're trying to avoid to turn those specific ones off. And that list has a variety. It's got like sewage treatment, that kind of stuff on there, stuff that, to keep the cities running. But they've looked at those and they have to identify, okay, we have so much electricity we need to shed or stop serving for X amount of time. It's a complicated process that our operators have to go through of looking at, how many customers does this have, how many people are on this service. There's no perfect way to do that where you can say like, well, these people are fine without going without electricity. That doesn't exist, so it's a difficult process. I can't really explain it because I don't know the process of the actual, what they're doing to determine the factors of, I need to shut these people off or these people off to meet the requirements that we need to. And then we'll move to this next point. It's, they're trying to meet the amount they need to turn off and, get them back on as soon as they can. But I know that's not a great answer as far as trying to explain. It's just a difficult process, and there's a lot of smart guys that are going through that process to try and do it as smoothly as possible. I don't know that there is a smooth way to do it. It's, you're interrupting service, so that's not great. But they're trying to do it as best as possible with, still trying to, keep those things like the hospitals and those sewage areas and stuff running. And it's tough.
Yeah, sounds like a very fluid situation for our audience listening today. The take-home messages are a lot of details that are either really complicated or too tough to explain of what's all going on, but we all need to do our part to come together to make sure everybody has power at the end of the day. What are the other take-home messages you want our audience to know today?
I mean, we're just asking people to be patient, and I know that's not an exciting message. I suspect my power will be going out here at some point. It hasn't gone out yet. I know some of my other coworkers have lost power, but it's be patient. It's not an exciting time, obviously, when it's freezing outside and we're having to deal with this. But try to do your best to conserve energy. Like I said earlier, I've walked around the house and I've unplugged basically everything in our house. Except we have this laptop that I'm working on. I've usually been working in the dark. And then my wife and my son, who are one's a teacher and one goes to school, they're home for the day because they didn't have school. And I think they're watching like a movie on a laptop upstairs. So they're trying to, we're just trying to do our best to help conserve energy. We ask people, if we can conserve enough energy, hopefully we can get out of this and we don't have to do any more of the interruptions of service. But if we do, we just ask people, hey, be patient. This is obviously not a fun time, but just be patient if you can and try to bundle up and we'll get through this.
Grant, I appreciate your time to come on here and shed a light on this topic with us. Stay safe out there and appreciate the work you do.
You too, Bryce. Thank you very much.